Project Noel. We have Kelli Clark, who is the founder of the program, and Sue Devroe is the county director of the program. So I will turn it over to Kelli.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to try to use this thing, but I don't know. So, hello, my name is Kelli Clark. I just kind of want to explain to you a little bit about how Project Noel got started, what we do, what we continue to do, so on and so on. So, I had 7 children. I tell people all the time they can call me Snow White. 7 kids, I raised them all the exact same way. I was always brought up very active in the church. My mom was always my Sunday school teacher. I ended up being my kid's Sunday school teacher and youth group leader, and was, tied down with a ton of teenagers there for a little while. So I raised all 7 of my children the same way. And I keep walking in front of this. 2 of my children, of the 7, got on the road to a path of addiction. And how that happened, I think that there's a lot of factors that play in that. Why would it only affect 2 of the 7? Okay. So my oldest daughter was Noel. She was due on Christmas Day, so we came up with a Christmas name, favorite holiday of the season. Noel was always very outgoing. There was never a stranger in Noel's life, and that continued as she grew up. Used to worry me as a little girl because she'd go up to strangers and, hey, how are you? But she was just always had that outgoing personality. My son Michael, you can go to the next one. So there's Noel. There's a very much younger version of me. My son Michael was great in high school. He was like the sports star of the high school. He was a left-handed pitcher for baseball. He was a switch hitter. He could play basketball. He was on the football team, but baseball and basketball, I would say, were where he was very strong at. He ended up getting offered a scholarship to college his senior year of high school. Instead, he decided to try heroin with some of his friends. And they were all on the sports team. And the only way I think I can figure with Michael getting started was his friends were doing it. They were all trying it. And an 18-year-old boy is invincible. Nothing is ever going to happen to them. It's no big deal. That started us on a long 14-year-long road of addiction. Tried everything. I took him to every rehab in the state, I think. I even had him set up by the police one time because I knew if he was in jail, he was alive. He was safe. I did everything I could. My oldest daughter, Noel, had a lot of bad experiences with heroin, meaning her best friend got involved. She was engaged to be married for a little while there. Her fiance got involved in heroin, and then her brother. So Noel, to say she really disliked heroin is an understatement. And, Noel was always very strong-willed, very independent. She put herself through college. She worked for the Cleveland Clinic part-time. She worked as an ultrasound tech, and she worked right here in Lakewood at Marriott's. In 2011, Noel met a new boyfriend, and not a very nice guy, I'm gonna say, to be kind. Ended up finding out she was expecting a baby, and she had one that was 15 already. So she wasn't planning on having it anymore. And she calls me up, Mom, I can't believe this. Because she was an ultrasound tech, she was able to give herself an ultrasound and called me up and said, oh my gosh, there's 2 heartbeats. So here we went from not having any more kids that we're now going to have identical twins. Which was kind of a shock to all, because twins don't run in my family, so I've learned a lot about twins. Go ahead. Yep. There she is. Noel was always kind of more than my daughter. I was only 16 when I had Noel. So I always said we kind of grew up together. We went on vacations together even as she grew and moved out, was on her own. I mean, we talked all the time. She was one of my best friends. She really was. Well, after she had the boys, I get a call one night from her oldest son, and he said, Grandma, I just woke up and Matt, her boyfriend, had a needle in my mom's arm. And I was like, what? There is no way. There's no way. Well, we ran over here to Lakewood and grabbed him up and was trying to figure out what was going on. And it wasn't very long after that one of her friends did contact me and said, Noel's got a really bad problem with heroin. My son Michael was in jail at the time. I was floored. Not Noel. Noel hated heroin. Why would she do this? After being up all night crying and everything, I realized that there were a lot of signs out there that I just missed. Noel suffered from postpartum depression. The doctor had her on an antidepressant. That was my excuse as to why she was always so tired and why she was sleeping a lot, And then I realized here it had been staring me right in the face all along. After a little bit of time, her 2 little boys came to live with me. Their father had not passed away. He had overdosed inside the house. Yeah, you can go ahead. There's the boys. He had overdosed inside their house in front of the boys. So Children's Services got involved. The boys came to live with me. And me and Noel kind of put a plan together on how we were going to get her back. She ended up going into a rehab center, and it was probably one of the happiest days of my life that she went in there. I was going to get my daughter and my best friend back. The boys were going to get their mom back. So she went to rehab here in town, and she finished it, and she got out and was doing really well there for a while. And then all of a sudden I found out the boyfriend, the boy's father, was hanging out at the house again. And I was like, oh, please no. Well, it wasn't very long. In fact, it was right after the 4th of July. I knew that Noel was back on heroin again. And my dreams were crushed to know that she was back on there. But we talked about it. We again came up with a plan, another plan. Mom, I messed up. I need to go back into rehab and start over. Okay, she acknowledges that she messed up. We're not going to give up. Let's get back in there. And the whole time, of course, I'm still dealing with my son that's in and out of jail, and he probably stole more from me than I could even describe. And he would never lie about it. I would talk to him afterwards, like, Michael, did you take my laptop? Yes. I'm sorry, Mom. So Noel was going back into rehab. We were going to be good. She called me on Saturday and she said, hey, I went there, but they don't have a bed open for me. But they will tomorrow at noon. So if you can, Go ahead. If I can get back there tomorrow at 12 o'clock, they'll have a bed for me and I'll be in there. Awesome. So, it was a Saturday night. I'm thinking, here we go. I'm going to have, this time it's going to work. She's determined it's going to work. I'm determined we're going to get her through this, and I'm going to have her back. I only had to make it till the next day. So the next morning was Sunday. I woke up, July. It was sunny outside. I'm thinking, oh, it's a gorgeous day out. I'm going to take something to go do with the boys. Noel's going in to get the help she needs. I roll over and I see my phone blinking. And I wake up to a text message that just says, she overdosed. Paramedics are here. Kelli, call me, it's not good. That was it. I immediately called the police. I couldn't get a hold of her friend. Called Noel's phone with no answer. Couldn't get a hold of I got a hold of the police. They knew nothing what I was talking about. They had nothing for her name, her address, anything. So they passed me through to the EMS. I need to know where she is. I need to get there, like now. I need to be there. Just tell me where you transported. Well, we can't give that information out over the phone. By this time, I'm desperate. So she did put me through to her supervisor, who came on the phone and said, I don't know why the police did not contact you, but your daughter was a DOA. So 11 hours, that's still, 11 hours before she was to enter rehab, I lost my daughter. And I can never describe that feeling. Unless you've lost a child, it's an undescribable feeling. And the only way I ever know how to even begin to describe it is it was like somebody reached into my soul, ripping it. It was the first time in my life I could ever say my soul was in pain. Throughout the next few days, I kind of was in a daze, a fog. The whole time with these two little 4-year-old boys looking at me going, what's going on? Well, where's mommy? Well, you know, they knew about heaven, but they didn't understand the permanency of it. Well, when's she coming back from heaven? Well, when are we going to go to heaven and see her? And I did not know how to describe to them while I was grieving, so especially what had happened. How do you describe the opioid epidemic to somebody, that they died from an overdose? I didn't want to say that she died from bad medicine, because then they'd be afraid to have medicine. I didn't want to say she was sick, because at 4 they'd think, oh my gosh, next time I get sick, you know. So you can go ahead. I started reaching out to, that's just a copy of Noel's obituary, and then the next slide, I came across this. I was writing her obituary, which took me days. They kept calling me, is this done yet? We need it. Never knew I would be writing my daughter's obituary. I see this and I'm like, that's the bulletin I need, because I don't know what to say. I can say that was the first time in my life that I could actually feel Jesus. I knew he was there. My mom had told me during her funeral, I said, I don't know if I'm going to make it through the funeral. I don't know if I'm going to be able to stand. And my mom said to me, every time you feel like you can't stand, stop and pray. And I did. And I stood. Then, of course, it was, go ahead, just, you know, trying to learn how to deal with this grief. How do I, go ahead, you know, go on. every day forward from that. Every day was, you know, just terrible. Everywhere I look, there's memories of my Noel. There's messages, I have emails, I have voicemails, you know, it was just, I don't know how I'm going to go through this. In fact, when Noel had passed away, I had been taking Chantix because I'm a horrible smoker, and I was trying to quit. And when Noel passed away, I threw him away and I started smoking about 3 packs a day. And I said, I want to follow. I can't imagine living this life of grief. And the only reason I did survive all that, I believe, is God. If I didn't have him, I don't know. I hear of other mothers that have gone through this and they really have no life anymore. I've heard of some that have committed suicide. It's a horrible thing to go through. So then I started trying to educate myself a little bit. 1 in 4 children in the United States live or have lived in an addicted household. 1 in 4, that's like crazy. You can just keep going. As I was reaching out for help, I realized that these kids, there was like nothing there for them. I kept reaching out, how do I talk to them? How do I explain to them? And I couldn't find anybody to help me. What I did keep finding was more and more kids and grandparents and great-grandparents and aunts and uncles and friends and foster care, you name it, that have taken these kids in. But there was really, I felt like the kids were kind of the forgotten victims in this epidemic. And, you know, I mean, not only do they grieve, everybody grieves differently, but they do grieve. It was, you know, some of the stories I was hearing was horrible. So we started Project Noel in Erie County. And it was supposed to be a community thing that we were going to do for Christmas. Project Noel, Christmas, kids, okay. And it blew up from there. So now we are in 28 Ohio counties. We're in 7 Florida counties. And that is our mission. Our mission is there to be there for the kids that have been left behind. The stigma attached with addiction is horrible. A lot of the kids don't like to speak about what their parents went through, passed away from, whatever. So, you know, we try to offer them a safe space. Besides helping with Christmas and Easter and everything, you know, everybody there's been through the same thing. It's a no judgment zone. The one good thing that I thought was going to come out of Noel was my son Michael. My son Michael sat at her casket and he was devastated. He was going to get himself together for her. The bad thing was Michael got worse after that. He just got, you know, he was depressed. It should have been me, not her. I've been doing this all this time. She was only on this a short time. And he got worse and worse and worse. Noel, when she passed away, one good thing that was very comforting to me was real close to her. She had a journal that she had filled all the pages in asking God for help. Please help me. I want to get over this. I want my kids back. One of the first things I said to my pastor when she died was, I didn't pray enough. I must not have prayed enough. And after talking to him, and he said to me, you know, Kelly, maybe God did save her. Not the way I wanted him to save her. I wanted him to save her and her be right here. But she couldn't beat those demons. We don't know what was coming in the future. We don't know if something would have happened, that the boys would have been involved. She couldn't beat it. And he saved her from all this. And that's how I have to look at it. On August 31st of 2021, I was in Orlando speaking for Overdose Awareness Day. And the next day, some of our volunteers were supposed to go to the beach and just have a fun day. And I don't know, if you know me, I do anything to get to the beach. And I'm not feeling the beach today. So we ended up going to Disney Springs, and we walked in the store and was shopping, and Noel's ringtone on her phone was Brown Eyed Girl. You're my brown eyed girl. And that song came on. And I said, oh, Noel's ringtone's playing, and a couple of the girls with me, oh, we love that song. We left there, we went to lunch, we're having lunch, and Brown Eyed Girl comes on. And I said, oh my gosh, here's her song again. And they're like, yeah, this is awesome. We left there, we walked down to this place in Disney Springs that has outdoor entertainment, and thought we'd sit and listen to the band for a little while. Sure enough, what did they play? Brown Eyed Girl. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And my friend said, I have never heard this song played so many times in a row, and I love this song. Well, we got halfway through that song and my phone rang. They had found my son dead in a public bathroom. And it started all over. All my hopes and dreams for my children. So, get through this. Kids, and I tell people now, if you get involved in these drugs, it's not a matter of if you're going to die. It's a matter of when you're going to die. I said, Michael made it 14 years. Noel made it 2. You don't know. Luckily, Michael didn't have any kids. The selfish part of me wishes he would have sometimes, because I get to see my Noel through her kids. But like I said, so that's why we really started Project Noel. We have added on a program now where we're adding on Michael's place at Project Noel, and it's going to be to help some of these kids play sports that maybe they're living with grandma and they can't afford the registration fees because everything's play to pay now, or they need a mitt, or they need whatever. We want to step in and be able to help. Project Noel, we help with emergency clothing and diapers, Christmas, Easter. A lot of our counties have kids groups. We do a kids event in the summertime for them that they can come out. Luckily, we had found Miss Sue over here to take charge of Cuyahoga County. And I can't even tell you how amazing she is. She has worked wonders. It's just amazing. But in short, that's why we do what we do, and what we do.
So it's been a pleasure to get to know Kelli and to be part of Project Noel. I'm working with my sister-in-law Carrie in Cuyahoga County. And as you can imagine, Cuyahoga County is huge. So we end up giving out the most gifts, the most Easter baskets. And just to give you an idea, we started in 2020 in Cuyahoga County, Carrie and I, as directors. And that Christmas we gave out 120 Christmas gifts. In 21 we gave out 489, and this year we were up to 740 kids. Same thing with the Easter. I mean, it's grown from 116 to 300 to 350 this year. And thank you so much for this church, the wonderful baskets that you gave to us. We were able to give out to those kids, plus whatever baskets we ended up having left over, we gave to some of the recovery centers. So all of those baskets were distributed, and we work out of a Methodist church in Brook Park, and we end up putting the baskets in the sanctuary in the pews. And if you could see the picture of all the gifts and all the Easter baskets in those pews, it warms your heart that people are so giving. But then if you take a step back, you think each and every one of those presents and baskets is there because some child is hurting, because their parent or loved one is suffering from addiction in some way, or they've lost them. So I guess, that's all I'd like to say. And I mean, Kelli is such a brave woman, and she started this just in Erie County, and it just keeps growing. It's growing so fast, it's impossible. But it gives us all a good feeling to be helping these poor innocent kids who, through no fault of their own, are in this situation. So I think that's it. If anybody has questions, yeah.
I guess I'm not clear. How do you identify the kids that you're going to help? Are they from families with one or the other parents are actively addicted or in treatment, or how does it work?
So we help kids that have suffered either through overdose death of a parent, active addiction, if they're in prison, whatever the case is.
It could also be foster children.
Yeah.
We have a lot of foster children, so foster parents. So they have to fill out an application.
They can fill out an application directly through us. We also get referrals through Job and Family Services, school counselors, Help Me Grow, rehab centers, counseling centers. Job and Family Services a lot, I'll get people reach out and they'll say, we're raising our grandchildren, but we don't qualify for any assistance, which is a big problem. So they gave us your phone number. And I tell people all the time, when I first took in the boys, I had a really good job. But all of a sudden I have $250 going out a week for daycare. And it was like, kind of a shocker there for a little while. I ended up leaving my job and staying home. But yeah.
And I think that's what happens a lot of times is, parents or grandparents are older. They might even be retired. And all of a sudden, they have a family again. And so it's nice that we can help them a little bit with that. And as Kelli said, we do help when children are placed in an emergency with a family member. Carrie's really good at that, my sister-in-law. She goes shopping to all, different Goodwill and Volunteers of America. Right after Christmas, one of the women that has been a recipient in the past left a bad situation, and she reached out and she said, I don't have beds for the kids. So due to our fundraising and the partnerships that we made with different communities, we were able to get them beds, mattresses, bedding. So
I always think of one. I had a grandma call me one day, 69, grandpa was 72, and they had just taken in a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 5-year-old. I took them some clothing and diapers and stuff, and they lived in a really tiny 2-bedroom house, tiny. So they had all 3 kids sleeping in the like full or queen size bed in the 1 bedroom. The other bedroom was only big enough for a twin bed, so grandpa slept there and grandma was on the couch. And they were on a fixed income with Social Security and trying to take care of these 3. She said, what were we going to do? We couldn't just say they didn't have anywhere to go. So.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, what is your primary funding source?
Oh, geez, primary is donations, I would say, and fundraisers. We are a 501c3 now, so it's all tax deductible. So we are filing for grants now and trying to get, because I think this year we've gotten more requests for clothing and diapers than we ever have. But, you know, we figured 2020 that, you know, the drug addiction overdoses were going down and then they spiked. And we had record highs. So, yeah.
You mentioned application. What are the criteria and just that their lives are somehow impacted?
They have to tell, how the kids have been affected by the opioid epidemic. And some of the families now we've gotten to know because, you know, but new ones, you know, I may send in for more information, you know, maybe because there are scammers out there, you know, we know that. I'm sure we've been taken a couple times.
Yeah, it's not extremely stringent. I mean,
Right. But we are
try to
trying
look into it.
We're trying to really buckle down on that this year. But yeah. You know, what I tell my volunteers all the time is, at the end of the day, I can sleep. I know I did what I could to help. If there's somebody out there that took advantage of us, they have to sleep with that. So.
Just to give you an idea, for Christmas, for Easter, many churches and, you know, reach out to us and they're willing to make up baskets. For Christmas, what we do though is we solicit, churches and businesses, and in businesses, we'll put a board up and we'll put the name of the child and inside the envelope a wish list. You know, so when they fill out the application, they put the name, the age, boy or girl, and some things that the child needs or would like to have. So then we in turn type up those lists and we put them on a board at a business, and then, you know, clients come in or people come in and they take the board or take the name. We in Cuyahoga County have been so lucky to have partnered with Citizens Bank, and they put the boards in different branches. Also, the biggest thing is Cleveland Clinic in Strongsville, and they helped us with, I think it was 170 names last year. So, and like I say, we might do it in churches as well. So we try to get our name out there, and we've been really blessed in Cuyahoga County. We've made some really good partnerships.
Are there any public funds, county, state, federal?
Well, grants, that's kind of what we're looking. I did just find one put out to the state of Ohio for kids suffering from addiction.
So
I just found it like 2 days ago.
And we had, a couple of years ago, got a grant from Cleveland Foundation. And that was basically for essentials, I think, for the kids. So more like emergency.
You mentioned there are chapters in both Ohio and Florida. Is there any organized grant development among the group? Is there anybody in charge of that?
That would be me.
Seeking.
We have been trying to find a grant writer very hard. They're not as easy to find as I would think. But, so yes, I have been doing the grant.
Kelli does so much of it herself, and you know, we would love to have other people step up and volunteer, but it is a commitment and it's not easy.
Yeah, you know, like I said, 6 months after Noel died, one of her best friends passed away of an overdose and left behind a 17-year-old daughter. She was a senior in high school. She had lost her dad the year before. Not from an overdose, but something else. And she got real involved with Project Noel and wanted to do her senior class project on Project Noel, which was, you know, awesome. And this was, like I said, 6 months after Noel died, so Project Noel was, you know, very new. She ended up going through a series of depression. She ended up using drugs, and at 20, she passed away. And that's what I think is so important, you know, is education for these kids, especially the boys, Noel's boys that I'm raising, their father. They found him last Christmas Eve laying on the street in Cleveland. So they don't have any parents now. But I make sure they're educated, you know. They know about the hereditary aspect of it, and you name it. And somebody said to me one day, this was a couple of years ago, I think they're kind of young for you to be teaching them all this. And I said, I don't think I could teach them enough. Now that's my opinion, you know, with what I've gone through. My kids, I didn't teach them about heroin and fentanyl. We didn't have all this when they were teenagers, you know, and I mean, it's the fentanyl mainly that's killing everybody. Noel lived off of West 117th Street, and she passed away just after midnight. She had gotten hit with carfentanil, which is an elephant tranquilizer, and was the 5th death of the night in that district. So it's, you know what I always say, you know, I feel like Satan has found a way to ruin a whole lot of lives if he can get to just that one. Because it does, it hurts so many people around that one loved one. Yeah.
You said you're operating in, was it 28 counties in Ohio?
Mm-hmm.
How far does that stretch in Ohio? Does that include rural places like eastern and southern Ohio where the drug epidemic per the population of those counties is unbelievably elevated?
It's terrible. So right now we go from Lucas and Wood County, so Toledo, all the way over to Lake County, Mentor and all that, down, and we're as far as south, I think we're in Marion County right now. I mean, so we've got Medina, Summit, Stark, Crawford, yeah, we're down south, just outside of Columbus now. So we're working our way down. We are in Clark and Madison County, which is outside of like Springfield area.
It would be great, you know, to get to all of those counties,
Yeah.
but the issue is volunteers, getting people to head them up. I mean,
Yeah.
Kelli, as it is, she's traveling all over the place when, you know, when it's Christmas distribution. If she has a new director, she doesn't have to come to Cuyahoga because we know what we're doing, you know. But Lorraine, for instance, we lost the director in Lorraine County this year.
Yeah.
And she ended up really managing that with help from Carrie, and so it becomes overwhelming, you know. It'd be great if we could get people down there.
Yeah, and we just had a new girl take over Clark and Madison County. She was in her mid-20s. She wanted to get involved because her mother had suffered from addiction and lived in Florida and everything. She was a nurse, and she started, and she was only there maybe 2 months. And she gets a call that her mother's on life support in Florida because of an overdose. She was the closest relative, but her mother had 3 small kids since then. So here's this 26-year-old girl finds herself with 3 children, trying to take care of her mother that she really didn't know that well, in her house. And, you know, it's a sad.
So do you have to go to Florida for the 7 counties that
And
you're
sometimes I
operating in?
do, darn it. I don't like that either. I tell them I'm not coming there. I grew up in Florida. So I grew up in Orlando, so my sister's still there, and people I went to high school with. But yeah, I do go down there. Not all the time, but
That's
If
fine.
you listen to my brother, he'll tell you all the time.
Yeah.
Jealous.
And also, is there a time of the year that where donations seem to be slower than other times? There's a lot of people are, think about holidays, whether it's Easter, but especially Christmas time is the giving season. But is there a time of year where there could be more donations given, like maybe you're struggling to get enough diapers for kids in need and something more in the summer rather than
I
in
would
the
say
year?
more in the summer.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah, I mean, even, clothing that we have stored for kids, we have a ton of winter clothing, but we're always short on summer clothing. So yeah, Christmas, people, give, and then we go into Easter and, yeah, I'd probably say summertime is a harder time.
Any other questions from anybody? about it?
Well,
Covered
thank
it.
you.
Yeah, thank you so much for helping us this year.